All right. So I'm going to try to record my AC joint separation surgery recovery. This is day one. So I'll give you a little background leading up to how I got injured, what made me go in or want to do the surgery, and then how everything's going. So I'll try to give as coherent of a description as possible, but I am on a little bit of narcotics, so excuse it. My voice is a little raspy still from being intubated during the anesthesia. But anyway, so about a year ago, February 26th last year, I was playing soccer and I was center back sprinting with their forward, and I strained my hamstring. I knew I tore it, and in full sprint, so immediately I pulled up, but the guy was right behind me. Our feet got tangled, and he fell into me as I was bracing myself to fall into the ground, and so I didn't fall on my hands. I wound up falling on my shoulder. And it was a really benign fall. I mean, if you saw it, you wouldn't think anything of it, except I heard it pop. Something happened. It was really painful immediately. And because I had a hamstring on my left that was tore and a right shoulder that just sucked immediately, I couldn't get up off the ground. So I had to have some teammates help me. The ref thought he was a medic and was I don't know, at least looking like it was a dislocation to him. And so he had his forearm in there, tugging on it. It wasn't a dislocation, as it turned out. I thought I broke my collarbone because the bone was sticking out immediately or popping up. So it was very painful. Um, and I just kind of worked my way over to the bench, sat there for a while, made a kind of a homemade sling from my forearm, hobbled my way back to my truck, and drove to the ER. And waited, and it was pretty pathetic because I couldn't really walk, and I couldn't really use my arm, so it was a bad state for me. But nonetheless, it was I don't know, it would have been entertaining. To see. Anyway, I was in the hospital and I described what happened, but they did the X-ray. But I hadn't really moved my arm much, so when the X-ray came back, the bones looked aligned. So they were basically saying, it's yeah, you're injured, but you didn't break your collarbone, so you're okay. So I know my body really well. I'm very in tune with my body. I've had a ton of injuries playing sports. I'm a very active guy, but I'm old, so I'm a 47-year-old guy trying to still be active. I'm not ready to give up yet. So I knew something was wrong. Obviously I didn't know what was wrong. I never even thought about an AC joint separation. Never had shoulder injuries, so I didn't really. This was a new area, a new type of injury. So I went home. Sleep was pretty bad for a couple of days for sure. Actually, it was 3 weeks of pain, if I'm being completely honest. Where before I could put an overhead shirt on, but for sure, 2 weeks of pretty significant pain. So I made another appointment at another ortho place, because the ER was not, obviously. And this ortho guy just kind of did some tests on me. I'd gone to him before for a different injury, and his shoulders weren't his specialty, but it was kind of who I could see early. And so he felt it was just a sprain. He saw the X-rays. He's in the same system where I got the X-ray from, and thought, yeah, you're gonna make 100% recovery. So just you do some PT, and off you go. So I was home, and in the meantime, when he said it was AC joint, separation or a sprain, I looked over all sorts of videos and PT. I went to PT, started doing it right away at home, actually, with a forearm on the table and little movements. I'd seen this professional rock climber in Canada who had a grade 3, who seemed to recover quite well from that injury and treating it conservatively, so without surgery, uh, eating well, resting well, doing whatever healing dance you want to do on top of that. It seemed to work for him, and a couple others. That area seems to be a mixed bag in grade 3s. But anyway, uh, you know, this first ortho thought I was probably around there, and so, or I was lower than that, but he had anticipated a full recovery. So I went on my way, started doing PT and things like that. Took some time, um, did it gradually, did it, you know, disciplined and smartly, so I didn't work through pain. There's some, if you're an athlete, there's things you work through pain, and then there's things you don't. But you're very tempted to work through pain thresholds if you grew up in athletics, and that's my natural inclination. But uh, this one, I definitely didn't. I would work up to the point of pain and then back off and kind of stay within that threshold. So it seemed to be working pretty well. Um, but there was still a lot of pain, even though it was progressing. I got the mobility back. I mean, I could move it's my right arm that got hurt, but I could move my left, all around, but it was very weak. And obviously the bone, it never went back down. It just kind of stayed up. And so it would kind of float and feel grindy when I would move my shoulder. And I wasn't really happy about that. And still wanting to do a lot of sports and learn new sports and things like that. It wasn't really settling for me to feel that way, that I just lost probably 60, 70% of my shoulder. At least that's what it felt like. So I did wind up going to another ortho specialist, this one with a really good reputation in the area. They did more x-rays, but this time they put a weight in my hand, did it at different angles. They could see the bone separation, and it was immediate to the PA anyway that it was a grade 3, grade 4, and I was a candidate for surgery. I didn't really like that idea, and so I went ahead and to another ortho just to get another opinion. That guy recommended being conservative as well. So I was already well beyond the point where I could have surgery, where I could take my own tendon and reattach it and let it heal and get that mobility back. But so it didn't really matter if I'm waiting longer or not at this point. So I decided I was going to give it a lot of time and try to treat it conservatively. But um, I got my shoulder back stronger. But I mean, it was 6 months before I could do a push up. I mean, it was really ridiculously painful. I mean, I destroyed my L1 a couple years ago, just being stupid, trying to be a lumberjack, and I felt like this was more debilitating than that, and that was pretty damn bad. Um, and so I don't know. I wasn't really. I was leery of this grade 3 diagnosis, just because everybody else that I saw had grade 3s. They were like, I'm back. I can rock climb now. I can do push-ups. Even my neighbor across the street happened to get his shoulder separated on a snowboarding accident a couple months before mine, and he was back to lifting weights. I mean, he's already a big dude. I'm not a big dude, but he's big, and he has to work out for his life. He's a fireman, so he seemed to recover pretty well. He didn't have a problem with most workouts. I mean, bench was a little bit harder for him, but not like I was expressing how difficult it was for me, and especially not being able to do a push-up without feeling like something was going to pop out for 4 months. And this is after doing a lot of PT, and when I did finally get up to that point, I started with 3-pound dumbbells on my right side and left just to make sure it was balanced. And I worked my way up from 3 pounds to 30 to 35, so it was getting stronger and I could start to do push-ups, but definitely that clicking never went away. And like I said, if I was in the water swimming or something like this, weird angles and pressure, it's just not very good at all. And I'm a pretty decent swimmer, lifeguarded for a long time, and so to just not have that functionality, especially when I want to surf, uh, didn't sit well with me. So I started thinking about the surgery, uh, you know, around that time, but there's just never a good calendar period where you're like, yeah, let me just chalk up 4 to 6 months and be basically, not useful for that long. There's just never a good time for it. So it's hard to just kind of say, yeah, I'm going to do surgery today because you're just biting the bullet and you're accepting what your life's going to be like for a while. Uh, so as much as my shoulder sucked, I was still functional. I could still do day-to-day stuff. If I was careful with certain things, I could still wrestle with my kid and throw around the pool and stuff like that. But certain movements, clickiness, like I said, it never went away. So anyway, this winter I was all prepped for ski passes again. I grew up ski racing, so I want to really make sure I kept training my kid how to ski and teaching the wife how to ski. And so, as we were gearing up to for the season and go skiing, um, indoor soccer was playing or was starting. Sure enough, in December, I ruptured my plantaris tendon, fully ruptured. Not everybody has even a plantaris tendon, but it runs from the back of the knee down to the ankle and along the calf. And so skiing was out. I went back to one of the orthos, and he was telling me it's 8 weeks in a boot, 8 weeks PT. It turned out anyway not to be that long with that injury, but I decided since I was giving up skiing for this winter that I'm going to do the surgery. That's it. I'm deciding it. I want a chance at my shoulder getting better, and I'm just going to go forward. So I went back to the doctor that graded me the first time, 3 or 4, the PA. But the doctor in the clinic has a very good reputation in the area that he works on pro athletes, and so I was pretty happy and could at least. I mean, I did all the research I could on different techniques, read the research papers. Some of these doctors who pioneer new techniques, like the double endo, they're the principal investigators on the research papers. Some of that data seems biased. It's really hard to sift through. It's really hard to make an educated decision when there's a lot of different techniques out there, and some data shows really good results, some shows questionable stuff. Uh, I went with this guy, I guess, because I didn't want, I you know, I didn't want machinery inside of me. I guess the metals and things like that. So this technique, he was drilling a hole through my clavicle and putting a cadaver tendon in there, and we talked a couple times about it. And there's all the research out there, even some papers that show you get 100% quality results, but you know people who are going to these shoulder conventions and things like that all over the world who practice it, they talk and they at least have a good idea of what actually works in practice. And this guy convinced me that these results are outstanding. And I was starting to get decision fatigue from so many things I was trying to dive into to try to figure out, do I need to leave the area and go to a specialist? I got confident with this guy. I went forward with this guy. But anyway, yeah, after back to the tendon being ruptured and kind of healing from that and knowing that my ski season's done, I decided I'm going to do surgery. And yesterday was my surgical day. So it was a little later than I wanted to, but timing wise, it was as quick as I could get it in there. I was hoping to be more in the winter, but I did wind up getting back into indoor soccer. So I recovered from the tendon. I played, three games before the surgery. So I tried to get a little bit more into shape. Was doing a lot of walking. Um, kind of leading into the surgery, I started eating really healthy. I mean, my diet's it's okay. It's not excellent, but it's not terrible. But I really focused on it. The few days going up into surgery, I don't know if it helps or not. It didn't seem like it helped me with the original recovery. So I don't know. But anyway, I decided to start eating a lot of salads all day. They're good though, and so I enjoyed them and got really good sleep the night before. The wife was stressed, so I let her handle the being stressed out, and I slept really well before the surgery. I had to be there at 6:30 in the morning, and so I was a little anxious because I didn't know how much pain I'd be in. I have a pretty high tolerance for pain, and I've had 3 other surgeries, and I didn't ever take pain meds after those procedures. I tried oxycodone once, 1 pill, and because of the way it made me feel, I just didn't like being out of touch with my body. I like listening to it and knowing what it's telling me, and I kind of abide by that, and that's kind of always worked. And so I was kind of anxious about taking that approach with this, where they're going to drill holes in a bone and cut skin and muscle. And the muscle where they cut before, I had 2 hernia surgeries and an appendectomy. I mean, the muscle was a little painful, obviously recovering with that, but it wasn't drilling holes in bones. So I didn't know what that would add in terms of inflammation and pain. So anyway, I got in there at 6:30 in the morning. they send you home in the pre-op appointments with some solution you got to wash and create the environment, start creating the sterile environment on your body. So you got to wash the night before and the morning of, and wash with this special solution. I had the sling before as well, and so I practiced with the sling, got my bed ready, kind of anticipated, even tried to sleep one night with the sling. I did it for a couple hours and had enough of that and was like, well, I'll have this sling for 6 weeks, so I don't need to do it too much beforehand. So I tried to prep. I ordered these sort of ice things, these shoulder wraps. So I had these as well because I saw the ice machines. You can rent them. They're kind of pricey. I guess some of the home ones where you just have a cooler is pretty cheap, but these are like $25 each. And so I got 2 of them and figured I'll throw this on my shoulder as it gets warmer. I'll put it in the freezer and I can pull the other one out. And that way it'll be coverage for as long as I need for ice. So I was prepped. I think I felt ready as you can be going into a surgery. I mean, at the end of the day, you're just gonna get cut up and drilled into, and then you're gonna have to recover. So there's no getting around that. But in the surgery room, they gave me a nerve block. They offered it. It's an injection. It kind of targets this bundle of 5 nerves right there. So the whole area is numb. The arm and everything's numb. I had it yesterday at 8:30 in the morning was my surgery. And so it's maybe 1:30 or something like that. I don't know what time it is, but maybe 1:30. And about 4 in the morning, I started getting feelings in my hand. So it worked pretty good. I mean, it kept my hand numb, or my whole arm numb, my neck numb. It's kind of like when your arm goes to sleep or a leg. It's like that. It's a dead arm, completely dead. Anyway, the nurses prepped me. They got me going. Had anesthesia, had intubation. Came out of it about noon. After the surgery, it was about an hour and a half long. I guess 30 minutes of that was stitching it up. The nurses gave me extra confidence because they all picked the same guy for surgery. One of them, their husband had 2 of them done by this guy, 2 different surgeries. And he was, I guess, being a demo for 2 other surgeons who had never seen the surgery. So I guess that was also good because hopefully he's at his top of his game most of the time, but if you have people watching, you have to be at the top of your game. That's what I figured. So it's good. I also talked to him. I was like, hey, let's have a good night's sleep on Thursday, right? Everybody has a bad day. I just don't want that bad day to be when I'm there. Everybody has an off day. It's understandable. I was just hoping to avoid that. So, he came back in the room. Obviously, he's a surgeon, so those guys have their routines. So I was just kind of playing around with them. But he said it went great. I don't know what it would take for him to say otherwise, but his words were perfect. So we'll see. I have a follow-up this next week. But the pain coming out, obviously I was in anesthesia, under anesthesia. I was still in my body for pretty much all yesterday. But I did take the pain meds. So I was deciding to respect this surgery and respect maybe an added level of pain that I might not be okay with. So I decided I'll bite down and take the oxycodone. So when I got home, I took Tylenol though, and I didn't take the oxycodone until I was right about to go to sleep. So maybe my first one was at 9 or something like that, 10 o'clock at night. But I had taken Tylenol, 2 500 milligram tablets, so 1,000 milligrams, kind of a lot. But I did that maybe 4 hours after I got home or something like that, just to have it, just to kind of keep on top of the pain control. And it was fine. I mean, the pain was not a big deal. I mean, compared to all the other stuff, it was just, I wouldn't even say it really wasn't anything. So I was really actually pretty excited because it felt like, okay, the anxious part of the process where you have the surgery, you're in the hospital, it's just no getting around that. It's not fun. But I was through it, and this was my first day towards recovery. So super excited about that. Like I said, I took oxycodone before I went to sleep. I slept okay. I slept a little bit. My bed reclined. So I had it, I had it in a good position, had some pillows already propped up, did what I could. I guess I had an alarm set, so I took medicine in the middle of the night too. But I was sleeping maybe 2 hours and then wake for a while and then sleeping for an hour or two. But overall, it's fine. I mean, it wasn't the biggest deal. It's Saturday, so I don't really have anything going on, just hanging out with the family. And so uh, around 4 in the morning, that's when the nerve block started wearing off. I could feel the pressure starting to build up there. But it's fine. I mean, the pain's, I'm kind of staying on top of the meds. It's painful, but it's not really anything that is too excruciating or anything like that. It's nothing to be too anxious about, I would say. Well, it depends on your threshold of pain. Uh, a lot of pain, certain types of pain don't really bother me very much. Nausea bothers me a lot more than pain, physical pain like this. So I'd rather not be nauseous and feel the pain any day of the week. But I do take an anti-nausea, one pill with the oxycodone. Uh, so I haven't felt any nausea at all. Today, we went out for dim sum this morning, actually maybe 2 hours ago. So it's okay walking around, but I'm gonna try to rest for the majority of the day and kind of respect that healing process. Like I said, I got this ice pack. I'll show you what the sling looks like if I can show it. The sling is kind of a heavy duty one, so it's got this little ball that you got to squeeze here. So you're really not too mobile. You got a pad that's along the side of your body, and it kind of keeps it in the right position. And I try to keep my shoulders back the whole time. So I was practicing posture for about 2 weeks before. I sit at a desk for a job. So thankfully, I just had to type. But I'm taking this whole week off, or at least I planned for it. If I can work, that's great. But if not, I have the week off. But I was practicing the posture and kind of keeping my shoulders back. So I was used to, that it does take some work if you don't, or you're not conscientious of your posture. You'll feel your muscles strain. So, I guess that's what I was doing for a few weeks to try to get myself in condition for trying to hold my shoulder back so it can heal properly. I mean, the tendon, it gets grafted between the clavicle and the acromion, and you really want to have a good posture because the scar tissue has to heal in there to stabilize that joint. So if you're kind of slouching and having pressure on it, it'll stretch that tendon, and then as it heals, the joint will be looser than what you would like it to be. So I'm trying my best to, keep it in good posture, do the right things. I will take my arm out of the sling today 3 or 4 times, let it go straight, maybe put the forearm on the table and start going left to right a little bit, just a little bit today. So PT for me starts day one, which this is day one after surgery. I'll let you know how it goes. I'm just doing this just because I know when I had this injury and I was deciding, I was going through a lot of videos and I found them helpful to see what people did, what their recovery was like. Some of them are more challenging than others. Some people, everybody has a different reason why you're going to decide surgery. Grade 3, grade 4 is a tough one. But if you've waited a month, you waited even a couple weeks, it doesn't matter if you wait a year. The surgical outcome, I think, is the same. But if you can press down the bone and it's still moving, then that means the joint has not stabilized. And if it hasn't stabilized, then they can probably have a better outcome for surgery. But if scar tissue is formed there and the bone doesn't move at all, it just won't move, then probably you're out of the surgical window, so to speak, because it's already stabilized the joint, and that's the way it's going to be, most likely, I think, from what I understand. So anyway, it can be a tough choice, and it's never fun volunteering for a surgery, especially if you get to the point where you can do a lot of things. I wasn't in pain at all, just sitting there moving around. But when I would sleep on my left side and my right arm would dangle on the bed, because that's the only side I can really sleep on because of my back, it would just feel like there's a 5-pound weight sitting there. It wasn't a big thing at all, but you just kind of feel it in the back of your head. So that was also part of it as well. But I'm very positive, at least optimistic. I have a very optimistic outlook that this is going to have a good result. So even if there's pain, it's kind of exciting pain because that just means, my body's going through what it needs to go through to heal. And when I heal, I plan on being back and active. So my goal is maybe 3 or 4 months being back on the field, soccer field. So that's what I'm set kind of as a target. So it's February now, so March, April, May, June. Out there sometime towards the end of June, hopefully, I'll be good to go. That's what I'm hoping. We'll see. But I'll do the videos as often as I can to, if they're helpful, you can ask questions. I'll try to get to them, especially over this next week. Maybe I'll do them more frequently just because this is probably the period where most people are anxious about, maybe because that's when you're going to feel the most severe pain. I don't know. But I'll try to do them. And if you find it useful or helpful to you, hopefully that's the purpose of it. So you know what I'm going through. You can kind of see what you anticipate going through. But right now, it's not too bad. There's the bandage. I haven't taken that off. I can't take that off for a while. I'm not supposed to shower unless I saran wrap this for a bit. But I have a follow-up appointment this week. So he'll take a look at that and let me know how it's all progressing. So I'll keep you guys up to date. And if you're going through the injury, you got an AC joint separation, you know what it is. Sorry to hear about it. Sucks. Shoulders, when they go, it's tough because we need them and everything, right? So good luck to you if you're going through this. And if you're trying to decide if you have surgery and this is helpful, then that's cool. And I'll try to answer any questions to make maybe your decision a little bit easier or clear. All right, so for now, I'm logging off. Take care. Bye.